On today's video, we are ranking the 12 most iconic golf clubs in history. And while I can't get into every single detail for every club in this video, we'll get into plenty of fun facts and stories of how our favorite golf clubs came to be and the folks behind those designs. There were some very tough cuts that I had to make to pare things down here to the top 12 for me in this video, but it just had to be done, and this is one man's opinion, and I'm always happy to hear your opinion down below. So make sure you subscribe to this channel first and foremost, but please do join in the conversation. If you agree with my picks, if you disagree, I'm always all ears and I'd love to hear what you think. But without further ado, here's how I rank the 12 most iconic golf clubs in history. At number 12, we've got the Adams Tight Lies fairway woods. These were launched in 1996. They were the first ever infomercial club. That coincided with the launch of the Golf Channel, and it was one of the first clubs that was really just broadcast and marketed across the world on television. The Tight Lies featured a tri-sole design that lifts the heel and the toe of the club. Together with a low center of gravity and a very long face, it was super easy to get up in the air. I had one, you had one, we pretty much all had one in our bag. What an icon. At number 11, we've got the Vokey spin milled wedges. Titleist first released this line in 1999, and it started because Titleist put out the call to its employees just asking who would like to head up the wedge division. Bob Vokey was the one who stepped up, and in doing so, he created probably the most iconic wedges in the game today. The first massive success that Mr. Vokey had was the spin milled wedge. Today's SM designation, think SM9, SM10, it stands for this. You can see this in the photo. The iconic spin milling is very apparent when you look at one of these wedges. In addition, Vokey pretty much created the genre of wedge grinds, giving golfers more options than ever to match the right wedge to their playing style and their playing conditions. Close to 40% of the wedges that you'll find on the PGA Tour are Vokeys. That's incredible, and it speaks volumes to both the consistency and the dependability of the Vokey wedge. At number 10, we've got another wedge. This time it's the Cleveland 588. This series of wedges predates the Vokeys. It was launched in 1988, and it was the fifth design by Roger Cleveland. Now, what made these wedges special is that they had a high toe profile and a large face area that made it easy to hit off a variety of lies. The other technology that played a role in its success was the V-sole shape, which offered more heel and toe relief, and that's what got people like Bob Vokey thinking about wedge grinds in the first place. During its time, the Cleveland 588 found its way into most of the tour players' bags, and in fact, I've got one here in my studio. It's always close to me as well. Coming in at number 9 is a golf club that you may or may not have even heard of, but it had an incredible impact at the time, and it really laid the foundation for many golf clubs to come. It's the Ben Hogan Precision Irons. These are referred to many as the grandfather of all modern blades. Clubs like the Mizuno MP14s and many other of the most iconic blades actually took its shape and its design from these original Ben Hogan irons. The Precision irons were first released in 1954. Notable design elements of these irons included lowering the mass of the club to create a muscle back and a notched toe. These are design elements that are still seen in blades today. Now, the Ben Hogan Iron Company was originally founded by Ben Hogan himself, one of the greatest golfers of all time. It's a swing that is iconic in its own right, and so many people still study that swing today. Now, what's interesting about this is that in 1953, while he was designing these irons, he was actually playing with a different set of irons. And that year, he won the Triple Crown, meaning he won all of the major championships of his day. Here you can see the actual set of clubs that he used. It was recently auctioned off for over $250,000. Well, even though these clubs were a different style than those ones, he really got it right here with the Precision irons. That lowered center of gravity allowed golfers to get the ball up in the air easier, and it was a much more forgiving club than anything on the market at the time. The Precision itself gave birth to other Hogan irons, things like the Apex series. And fun fact, even though the Ben Hogan brand has been sold over and over again over the years, Callaway even had it for a time. Well, they still use the Apex name in a line of their irons, and you've probably seen them on store shelves even to this day. All of those irons and many more owe its foundations to the precision. And for that, it's truly iconic. Coming in at number 8 is the TaylorMade R7 driver. What made this driver so iconic is that it was the first ever adjustable weight driver. It was launched in 2004. It used an adjustable weight system and it came with a tool so you could position those weights for a neutral draw or fade bias. Here on your screen, you can even see a diagram of how you would take those weights off and reposition them to get the desired ball flight. It was lots of fun, but it wasn't so easy to make those changes on the fly. It's kind of, once you had it, you had it. But that was an absolute game changer for golfers who really wanted to dial in their ball flight. Coming in at number 7 is the Odyssey 2-ball putter. This putter was released in 2001 and it had a simple but magical idea to place 2 golf ball sized white dots behind the face. It was a genius alignment tool and it caught fire on the PGA Tour. It also had a urethane insert that gave it a soft feel off the face. It has a ton of tour wins and it's just an absolute classic. Coming in at number 6 for me is the Tommy Armour 845 irons. If you can believe it, these were designed by a former English teacher. His name was John Hofflick, and the 845s were his first ever golf club that he designed. How crazy is that? After doing some research, John decided to make a better looking Ping I2. That's a club you're going to see here in just a bit. But a unique innovation here was the cavity balance weight pads that you see in the corners of that cavity back. And in fact, the first molds he made for those weight pads were literally from melted candle wax. Now, thanks to an aggressive sales team, the 845s were in production for over 7 years, something we don't see happen these days. As club life cycles have shortened and shortened over the years, we're getting new releases from the big names every single year. The 845s became the second best-selling irons just behind those Ping I2s, and you'll see them in just about every secondhand golf shop you walk into or yard sale you attend. All right, those were 7 amazing icons, but there are 5 clubs left here on our list, and this is where it gets really, really difficult. But before I get into our final 5, I do want to talk about today's sponsor. I Promise is a supplement for your eyes. It's something that I've never really thought about, but as I've gotten older, my eyesight has started to diminish. I don't see quite as clearly as I used to, especially in the dusk hours, those late afternoons as it's starting to get dark out on the golf course. That's exactly what I Promise can help you with. It can help reduce the glare, it can help with contrast detection, which will help you read those putts, see the grain of the grass, which can be critical in making or missing putts. There's so many benefits to this supplement. The ingredients are all natural and they've got big time athletes behind it. People like Padraig Harrington, the Boston Red Sox. That's what originally caught my eye when I saw this stuff. I gotta say I was a little bit skeptical, but after using this supplement for the last few months, I've seen some very noticeable improvements. Definitely seeing clearer. I was just at a golf tournament down at Concession. The guys were 300 yards away hitting their tee shots. I was able to track those balls, tell my friends if they were going right, left, or hit the middle of the green. It was a drivable par 4, and they were shocked because they couldn't see it and I could track it very clearly. That's when I knew this stuff was really starting to work. So I'm a big fan of this supplement, and I asked I Promise to do a couple things for the community. Number 1, give us a discount that's specific to the Let's Play Through community. So I put a discount code down below. And number 2, I asked them to give us some extra product that we could give away. So I Promise agreed to do that. We're gonna give away a 90-day supply of I Promise to one of you. I've got a contest link down below, which you can just simply fill in your name and email and get entered. But like I said, if you don't win, there's a discount code for you to try this stuff for yourself. I've really enjoyed using it and I'll continue to use it here in 2024. Coming in at number 5 for me on my list is going to be the TaylorMade P790. Now, that may have a few of you scratching your head because it's the most recent club on this list, but they are truly an icon. Let me explain. The P790s were originally released in 2017 and it essentially created a new category of irons, a hollow-bodied forged muscle back design, the player's distance category. Now, the P790 may not be the first ever club to inject foam into the center of a hollowed out muscle back. PXG actually did it with their 0311 in 2015, and TaylorMade was experimenting with it as far back as the 90s, but it sure was the most important. And today, every manufacturer has copied this design. All the big ones, all the direct-to-consumer brands. This style of club has found its way into more bags than just about any other club in history. Coming in at number 4 is the Ping Answer Putter. This was designed by Karsten Solheim in 1966. He started the Ping company in his garage. He was literally not only manufacturing clubs, but selling them out of his garage in the early days. Karsten sketched the idea on the back of a Records dust jacket. You see that here in the picture. It had a step design that allowed for a lower center of gravity. That lower center of gravity helped give the ball a much more consistent roll coming off the putter face. This was also the first putter with an offset hosel for a clean view of the face. If you want to take a deeper dive, there's a fascinating history on Ping's website. I'll leave a link in the description. It even includes the reason why the name Answer is actually misspelled. Now, the Ping Answer putter is such an iconic design that, again, every major manufacturer has pretty much copied this design, including the number 3 club on our list here, the Scotty Cameron Newport 2 putter. Now, the Newport 2 was not the first putter Scotty Cameron designed. He had been making putters for a few years, but it was modern golf superhero who put the Newport 2 on the map. Of course, that's Tiger Woods. Tiger Woods won 14 of his 15 majors with the Newport 2. Now, the Newport 2 differed from the original Newport in that it had a more squared off appearance. It also had a flatter bottom to it. Now, Scotty Cameron's philosophy centered around not just great engineering, but also great aesthetics. And the milling pattern with its swirl design is an iconic example of this. The true genius to me is that he took a tried and true design and he made it look ultra premium. Let's face it, he's a master of branding, and of course having Titleist behind you doesn't hurt either. Today there are fanatical Scotty Cameron collectors who will buy these putters for upwards of $10,000. If that's not great branding and marketing, I don't know what is. All right, we're down to our final 2. This is such a difficult decision. Coming in at number 2 is the Ping i2 irons. These irons first hit the market in 1982, and if you've been playing golf for any amount of time, you've either played with these clubs or you certainly have been in a group where some of the guys were playing with the Ping i2s. Now, the development process of the i2s started with a club called the Ping 69. Just like his putters, Karsten had a crazy idea to create a perimeter weighted design. And he did that by taking a club iron blank and literally drilling out the center and leaving more material at the edges. You can think of it almost like a tennis racket where the stability is at the edges and there's less mass in the middle, which allows the ball to spring off. This hollowing out of the cavity increased forgiveness on off-center hits. It moved the center of gravity down in the club, producing higher ball flight. Of course, this gave birth to every modern cavity back iron you see, because nothing like it existed before this. After that initial Ping 69, we eventually came to the I, and then we got the holy grail, the i2. This offered more offset and even a bigger overall profile. These clubs were so forgiving and so long that by 1985, 18% of all irons sold were i2s, and by 1988, it was a staggering 28% of all iron sets being sold Ping i2s. How crazy is that? And if you're playing a cavity back today, you can thank Karsten for all that forgiveness. And that means that coming in at the number 1 spot, thanks to all of you who voted, Callaway Big Bertha takes the crown for the most iconic golf club of all time. The Callaway Big Bertha was launched in 1991. It had an original MSRP of over $200, which was a ton of money back in those days. The Big Bertha name came from a German howitzer gun. It was massive, and that's exactly what people saw when they saw the Big Bertha driver. It was huge for the time. It was actually only a 190cc driver head. Today, most driver heads are almost 3 times that size. Now, this wasn't the first ever metal club, but it was certainly the biggest, and this was still at a time when most people were playing old persimmon woods, literally clubs made out of wood. Now, what made the Callaway great was that it used technology that we saw before. It used perimeter weighting to achieve more forgiveness and faster ball speeds. And that face, well, that face was just huge. Golfers went crazy for it. They felt like it gave them more forgiveness, it gave them more confidence, and the rest is history. Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed this list of my 12 most iconic golf clubs. And as I said up front, let me know down below what you'd add, what you'd subtract. What do you think of this list? I'm dying to find out. I'd also love to know, by the way, have you ever hit any of these clubs? I've got a lot of the clubs we talked about here behind me, and I've hit 14 out of 15 of the clubs on this list. It's just those precision irons I haven't hit yet, but I hope to get to do that sometime soon, and I'd love to buy a set as well. Hope you enjoyed this video. Do hit that subscribe button. I'll catch you back here next time on another edition of Let's Play Through.